Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. You know, it's amazing. Today we got some great news. Ripple forming new partnerships, new ODL partnerships in collaboration with Lemonway in France and Xbot in Sweden. I talked a little bit about this in this morning's video. If you guys didn't catch this morning's video, I will link it up here in the top right-hand corner. And I think Swift is realizing or starting to realize, maybe have been realizing and figuring out a way to react to all this positive Ripple news. I've been noticing a lot of people posting this on Twitter. Swift is now Ripple. This from TikTok Crypto here on Twitter. Retweeting out Anders' tweet here, Swift starting to sound like Ripple. So Swift has recently changed their Twitter profile. So this from the Swift community. We're on a mission to make international transactions instant, frictionless, and interoperable. Sounds like a company that has already been doing this for years, who you choose to ignore. XRP Yoda also here bringing up an interesting point. Swift's new banner also confirmed that they have, I quote, achieved interoperability between its current infrastructure and digital assets. So I don't know what he's referring to necessarily with regards to this logo here. Although it is a new logo, a new branding, I suppose you could say. Zizak down here saying, can anyone else see the Ripple logo lays into the Swift logo? Okay, so perhaps a bit of a subliminal message here. I don't know, would that be the Triskelion type logo that it would fit directly in here? I don't know if you guys can see, I'm trying to trace it out with my mouse there. How that would fit in there. Interesting observation. Not 100%, but maybe there's a third arm, like half of the Chainlink logo. Big speculation, but things that make you go, and then he tags me in this tweet. So an interesting observation here. Thank you to Zizak and XRP Yoda just for pointing that out. It's no surprise, Swift is now the one that has to adapt. Ripple has come roaring out of this, building new partnerships, and I feel like they are on their heels, really trying to keep up at breakneck speed and likely making a lot of mistakes along the way. I don't know why they ever chose to go the GPI route. They should have been building similar technology to Ripple since the beginning. But anyway, here they're trying to make a stance. We're on a mission to make international transactions instant, frictionless, and interoperable. So starting to sound a lot more like Ripple. We got this, guys, headed to Money 2020. This coming from Mary C. Hall. Don't miss James Wallace, Vice President of Central Bank Engagements at Ripple. So he's going to be speaking at Money 2020 this year. James is the VP of Central Bank Engagements at Ripple, which is the leading blockchain-based cross-border payments network working with financial service companies to accelerate the global scale adoption of blockchain technology and digital assets. So this is where cross-border payments are going. Again, they have one guy specifically dedicated to central bank engagements at Ripple. James is a recognized global thought leader and business developer. He has advised many fintech startups and has leveraged blockchain and distributed ledger technology, helping their executive teams develop a strategic vision and operational plans to leverage the technology for economic and social good. From startup to scale up, previously James was COO and co-founder of IBM's blockchain business, with global responsibility for market development, client engagement, sales, and business operations across all industry sectors. And now he's going to be speaking at Money 2020 coming up in Las Vegas, October 23rd to 26th. So an interesting connection there, and interesting to have the Vice President of Central Bank Engagements specifically. So this goes beyond the retail cross-border stuff that, Ripple has been kind of, starting off with. The central bank stuff, obviously, there's the partnerships with central banks around the world. That has been a biggie. That is where we're ultimately going to see most of the value be derived to XRP through these large value payments. But of course, it's baby steps, as Brad Garlinghouse has told us from the beginning. Crawl, walk, run. I feel like we're very, very close to that running phase. I also saw this from Matthew Lany. Citi is to launch a 24-hour clearing system in Q4 of 2022, working across clients' channels of choice, starting with Swift and soon via APIs. We have to also remember Citi is an XRP-enabled network, and we know from Leonidas Hadjilozu they were experimenting with Ripple technology. So just to give you guys some context here, they were working with Valente, who is Ripple-enabled. Citi will be building its core ISO 20022 capability using Valente's Volpay for ISO 20022 migration solution. And also just from, looks like somebody's LinkedIn profile where they work for Citi, just talking about experimentation project with Stack like Ripple Labs and the Hyperledger. So there is definitely a connection to Citibank here and Ripple-enabled technology. And so now Citi is to launch 24/7 clearing in Q4 of 2022. So this new service is designed to enable Citi's clients to make USD payments across Citi's 1,500 financial institution customers globally 24/7. including holidays. Clearing will deliver this experience to Citi's financial institution clients, with plans to include other client segments without implementation or need to adopt new technology or proprietary channels. Citi's 24/7 USD clearing service will help support clients' payments innovation agenda through a number of business-critical use cases, including enhancing client experiences in markets operating outside the US working days, i.e. the Middle East. So you got to take into account the Christian world celebrates Christmas on December the 25th by and large. But what happens when there's business in Muslim countries like in the Middle East? Well, you still have to do business, and there still should be a rail available. And this is why the 24/7, 365-day a year, idea is so important, because commerce is becoming more globalized, meeting collateral requirements on weekends or holidays, processing late-hour payments, supporting interbranch funding, and empowering clients-owned retail and commercial customers with the ability to process payments around the clock. And there's also that time change, which is a big one too. At Citi, we approach everything with a client-first philosophy, focusing on both meeting our clients' needs now and helping them prepare for the future. This means thinking about how clients could use our solutions at scale with minimal investment on their part. 24/7 clearing exemplifies this approach. So a Ripple-enabled bank, Citibank, through what is looking like probably Valente, now going to offer 24/7 clearing starting Q4 2022, guys. We're already in Q4 of 2022, so don't know if they have started yet or they plan on starting it soon. Anyways, good news there from Matthew Lany. Another one here with regards to Ripple partner Finastra. They're collaborating with Contour for digital trade finance. Financial services software and cloud service provider Finastra will integrate its Fusion Trade Innovation software with Contour, a global digital trade finance network, to provide banks and corporates with a streamlined end-to-end back office workflow. The collaboration links together the two key components of digital trade finance: a deep integrated core banking platform for internal processes and an external decentralized network for bank and corporate customer communication. Also, this enables digital adoption, so moving away from an old system and getting integrated onto a new system, while decreasing client costs, reducing reliance on paper transactions, and reducing risk. So all things that the blockchain DLT technology does very well. And since Finastra is Ripple enabled, well, one can only assume that they will be running on Ripple in some capacity. Here's a quote from Carl Wegner, CEO of Contour. He said, "Our partnership with Finastra is an important step forward in breaking down barriers to adoption and increasing access to trade finance. By integrating with Finastra's Fusion Trade Innovation, financial institutions and corporates will have access to an end-to-end ecosystem of services that will enable them to transact seamlessly and securely." So we've been hearing quite a bit from Finastra over the last several months now, I find. Finastra, again, Ripple enabled, looking to work with banks on their back end, have been forming quite a few partnerships over 2022. At least that's what I've noticed. Anyway, interesting news there, guys. We also have this from Crypto Eddie in terms of XRP on-demand liquidity. And again, we just heard about those new rails this morning, namely in France and in Sweden. Here's another piece of news here from Singapore. Singapore is ahead of the curve, and the amount of ODL is astonishing. Singapore is ahead of the curve, Ripple executive on global crypto regulations. So here's an article just outlining Rahul Advani's opinion on this. For over a decade, Ripple has been exploring the fundamental use case of blockchain, efficient cross-border payments, so on and so forth. So just giving us a bit of history, Ripple facilitates transactions, as we know, with the digital remittance market projected to grow annually by 15% by 2030. The need for blockchain-based financial solutions is more apparent than ever. Blockchain solutions bring a clear economic benefit to these markets, says Advani, Ripple's policy director in the Asia-Pacific region, and digital assets enable micropayments. And this is the biggest thing. For the unbanked, underbanked community, the fact that you can basically trade and transact, not so much trade, but transact in such low values without those high fees is exactly the kind of use case that they want to see expand dramatically. In a lot of these countries, cash is still king. And so if you can get them off cash, hint, hint, and make frictionless cross-border payments very easy and simple, even if you're transacting 3 or 4 cents, let's say, without those exorbitant fees, well, that is really going to change finance for all 7.5 plus billion people on planet Earth. People no longer need to wait till they have a large amount of money to send. They can send as little as $1 every day and still end up paying less in cumulative transaction fees. So then they go on about, is this sustainable? Of course it is. Using RippleNet and using on-demand liquidity, this is how they're going to be able to accomplish this. Compliance does cost, but the reality is that the friction in traditional rails isn't from cost or from compliance costs, he says. If you look at the correspondent banking model, you have to have pre-funded accounts, and that ties up capital, which makes transfers more expensive. Ripple addresses this problem, obviously, with on-demand liquidity, wherein the XRP token acts as a bridge between fiat currencies and transactions can be settled in a matter of seconds. You no longer have to pre-fund your destination correspondent banking accounts, Advani says. Given this scenario, even if compliance costs were to increase in the crypto space, players like Ripple would still have an edge over traditional payment solutions. So guys, hitting the point home. And we're seeing this in Singapore, ahead of the curve, obviously, but in that region of the world in general. The United States still lacking that clarity, but I think we're going to get there shortly. Payment infrastructure news also bringing this to our attention. So apparently there is a delay in the ISO 20022 integration or harmonization timetable as part of the G20 roadmap for enhancing cross-border payments. We were supposed to be fully integrated, or at least mostly integrated, by the end of this year, December 2022, and now the new action payment system operators supporting the adoption of a harmonized version of ISO 20022 to continue to work on future plans and set out publicly their comments for adoption on a harmonized version of the ISO 20022 standard for cross-border payments, market practice groups to align their guidance with CPMI harmonization guidelines, and CPMI to take stock in ISO 20022 migration plans of individual jurisdictions. Now the timeline is extended by one entire year, December 2023, guys. And if you want to take a look at the guidelines for the broader industry consultation, he does list a link down in here. So, this is getting extended. The full integration wasn't supposed to happen until 2025 anyway. So we'll see if this entire timeline gets pushed or if they're just going to compress it and maybe, get us on the new standard and expedite the timeline somewhat. Chesty Puller's ghost here, okay, pointed this out, and this to me was interesting. Anyone else see this? Now, Coinbase famously, one of the biggest exchanges in the US, famously decided to delist trading for XRP. Now, I personally don't use Coinbase. I don't know how the interface works. I don't know if you can still custody on Coinbase. From what I understand, you can. Please do put it down in the comments section if you guys have an opinion on this. Coinbase still shows it's not tradable, so you cannot trade XRP. But when I searched gold on the XRPL, this is what came up. So it looks as though, and guys, please test this out for me, is that you can trade XRP for XAU, which is in fact gold, or at least a gold pegged product. So this last update was from yesterday, October the 10th, and the conversion looks about right. Some people here responding to this, saying that the math does in fact check out. So this begs the question, why can you not trade XRP in the traditional sense? However, you can trade it for XAU or gold? Precious metal conversion? Why would they allow that and not a traditional trade? Things that make you go, But again, I cannot confirm this. I want to stress that. I cannot confirm this. So for those of you guys on Coinbase, check it out. Interesting considering what we're seeing in the US. T-Hole Benedict XRP posting this. Finally, the US accepts they cannot win this battle against the change and will lose the least by competing versus trying to prevent this, okay? T-Hole Benedict retweeting out 801XRP's tweet, Ripple XRP fam, listen to Janet Yellen speaking about a World Bank evolution roadmap. I and world leaders, and this is the quote, I and world leaders will call on World Bank management as the annual meeting next week to develop a World Bank evolution roadmap by guess when? This December. Listen to this.
The world cannot afford to delay or lower our ambitions. The current challenges are urgent. And that is why I, along with leaders from a broad group of countries, will be calling on World Bank management at the annual meetings next week to work with shareholders to develop a World Bank evolution roadmap by December. Deeper work should begin by the spring. Shareholders will then need to drive parallel, holistic reform efforts across other development banks as well. To accelerate this work, my team will step up our engagement with World Bank shareholders and management, and we look forward to discussing more details on this project in the coming weeks.
So, Janet Yellen saying the U.S. going to be working with the World Bank on an evolution of the roadmap. Clearly, there needs to be a change, Let's not forget the World Bank was also the organization that deemed XRP and XLM as stable coins. If you guys didn't catch the video I did on that a few months ago, I will link it up here in the top right-hand corner. So it's almost like the beginning of the end, or maybe the middle of the end. XRP trading on Coinbase, possibly for XAU. Janet Yellen saying, you know what? We got to come back to the table, talk to the World Bank, reevaluate what's going on here. And then I got to show you this because, Tony Valentino was very active in the XRP community years ago. And he hasn't been active. I don't even think his Twitter handle is still available for viewing. And it's interesting because he was predicting all of this even before the massive inflation hit. The massive inflation didn't hit until this year, and I don't think he's been active since 2020. If I've got my dates right, this is what he posted back then. Regulatory clarity will be the first major announcement. Okay, so with regards to XRP, this will open the gates to many institutions that are waiting on the sidelines. We could easily see the market cap grow by a few $1 trillion within weeks, and I don't doubt this for a second. Next step will be the UN, IMF, Fed throwing their weight behind XRP. Going back to this Janet Yellen clip, the World Bank, a reevaluation of this evolutionary roadmap for the future of finance, going to come up with a conclusion by December of this year. He goes on to say here, where was it? He goes on to say here, okay, so these organizations throwing their weight behind XRP, you got to understand the mission of Ripple, R3, and others with XRP. This is more than just faster remittance payments at lower costs and banking the unbanked, as I mentioned earlier. Banking the unbanked, just a small slice of the pie, but the big money guys going to be for the future of finance, central bank engagement. This is why James Wallace, for example, is talking at Money 2020. This is all about preventing a recession and a catastrophic collapse of the global financial system. Now, again, I don't know when this was tweeted out originally. I know Tony Valentino hasn't been active for a very long time, so this was way before we were in the throes of a recession. The 50 billion plus XRP left in escrow belongs to the globalist deep state, and either the IMF or BIS or UN or World Bank for that matter will take full control of the escrow sooner or later, depending on when they plan on introducing the new financial system. Ripple OTC sales have stopped means boom time is coming. Why boom time, you ask, since Ripple won't be selling OTC? All is required now is one announcement from a globalist deep state puppet organization like the IMF or BIS or UN or World Bank for that matter, and the herd of outsiders who haven't been invited in on the plan will rush to purchase their XRP on exchanges. Central banks cannot just print their way out of this mess. That will cause hyperinflation and speed up the demise of the global financial system. Well, looky what we have here. It looks as though a prediction as to what finally did come to fruition by mid to late 2022. They need money and crap loads of it without printing it. But how? Wealth creation using XRP, then stabilize it all with... Look, I didn't write this, he did. Stabilize it all with gold. He goes on to say, if you disagree, fair enough, but tell me, what other option is there besides wealth creation using XRP? Which other crypto is linked to banks on the scale XRP is? They can buy all the gold, and how will gold solve anything by itself? What other system is built to solve this mess? Exactly what I've been saying for years. Wanted to thank Spirit Wolf Guide here on Twitter just for bringing us back to that Tony Valentino tweet. Frank F down here saying it's hard to beat his reasoning, makes perfect sense, and is in line with what most have been saying all along. Again, I really want to know when he tweeted this out, the date specifically, because it looks as though everything is falling in line. So if you guys know when Tony Valentino originally tweeted this out, please do put it down in the comments section. You can tag me on Twitter. I'm at WorkingMoneyCH. But that's just my opinion. I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.